Since the temperature is getting colder, I love to make something really cozy for a weeknight or a great meal. And this kale and sausage lasagna hits the spot every time. It starts with sauteing some sausage with onions, and to really bring out that really good flavor, we add a little bit of thyme and rosemary and kale. To finish that sauce, we add some squash soup. It's the perfect sauce to hold this all together. The white layer is with ricotta cheese, some Parmesan, mix that together. Layer it all up with some no-cook lasagna noodles, and let me tell you something. This lasagna is everything you want in the fall, ready to go in a meal. And it's all coming up on today's Wise Guide. During the fall, I am making squash soup all the time because I have a ton of butternut squash. And if you're like me, when you make a batch of squash soup, you might as well make a huge batch. I always have a ton of soup left over. And I love to repurpose. And recently, my sister, who has a large family of her own and loves to repurpose all her leftovers, was telling me how she made this awesome lasagna. So of course, I had to try it out, redo it a little bit, and let me tell you something, she knows exactly what she's doing. This is a great way to use some leftover soup or to make a small batch and use it for this lasagna because you're gonna wanna make it all the time. The flavors are exactly what you want in the fall. You have a little bit of herb notes with some fresh thyme, some rosemary, which are really those warm, beautiful herbs. It's layered with sausage and kale straight from the garden, some no-cook lasagna noodles, which really make this extremely quick and easy. I'm seriously so excited for you to try this lasagna. To start, you just want to cook some sausage. Whatever sausage you like, I like to use a mild pork sausage. Nothing too strong, not a breakfast sausage, it can have too much spice, but just start by cooking it in a large skillet. While the sausage is cooking, just break it up with a spatula or spoon, that way it's gonna be smaller pieces. While that's sauteing, I like to get ready my onion and garlic. Just chop up some onion. I like to go crossways first, then go down horizontally, and then just chop it up into small pieces. Move it aside and then dice up or finely mince 2 cloves of garlic. I just like to cut off the ends, smash them with the side of my knife. Be careful, you don't wanna cut yourself. Then the skins just come off really easy. Just dice them up as finely as you can, and then finish with the kale. I like to use this dinosaur kale or Lasagna kale. It is long, really thick strips of kale. You really wanna take out that center piece, which is the stem, because it's extremely tenuous and it does not break down. So just strip it off that, hold it with your hand, and then take those leaves that are a lot more tender and just strip them right off that stem. Once it's all stripped off, you can just chop it up into smaller pieces. Seriously, it's easy. At this point, your sausage should be about cooked through. If there's a little pink, that's no problem, it's gonna continue cooking. Just add your onion and your garlic. Add some salt and pepper. That's gonna help bring out some of that extra water that's in the onion, but it's also gonna season everything. Just move that around, make sure it's evenly cooking, and then add your sprigs of thyme and a large sprig of rosemary. I am not gonna chop it all up because we all know stripping that thyme with the leaves to come off, that is just way too much work. You hardly ever are able to do it. You get tons of stems, so you might as well just throw the whole sprig in there. That way, it's gonna let all of its flavor come out, and some of those leaves are gonna fall off, and that's just fine. Then you don't have to strip them. Let that cook up until the onion is very tender and the herbs have really let go of their flavor. To finish, just add in all that chopped kale. At this point, you really just want to wilt down the kale. It's not too much cooking that needs to happen, you just want it to become really bright green and shiny. After a couple minutes, you can just turn the heat off and let it cool. While that's cooling, you can get the ricotta mixture ready. Any lasagna usually is layered with some type of meat and sauce mixture and a ricotta and cheese mixture. It's really simple. Place your ricotta in a bowl, add some grated Parmesan cheese, and no, I do not use that powdered stuff because I don't really know what that is. It's like powdery, cardboardy, and yet kind of Parmesan-y, but not. So just get some fresh Parmesan and have it grated up because that's gonna be a lot more delicious. Add some fresh chopped parsley. I like to use flat leaf. I picked this right from the garden. Just take it off the stem somewhat and then dice it up pretty finely. And then you just wanna beat up 2 eggs. Beat them up in a separate bowl because otherwise it is really hard to get them to beat up evenly. I've tried in a hurry and then you just have like some white, some yolk. It doesn't work. Add them right on top. a little bit of salt and pepper, and then mix that all together. Once it comes together and is smooth, you're ready to go. At this point, your sausage and kale mixture should be somewhat cooled. Just remove the sprigs of thyme and rosemary. They've done their work, they have let go of their flavor. Just pull them out because those stems, not fun to chew on, like not at all. And then add in some of that butternut squash. We are gonna call it a sauce at this point, but I won't tell anyone if you're using some leftover soup because that's definitely what I'm doing. For my extremely simple butternut squash soup recipe, make sure to check out my site because you cannot get any easier than this soup that I have almost, probably 2 times a week. Stir that all in and it's gonna become this delicious sausage and kale sauce. Now, all we need to do is layer up our lasagna. Make sure to spray your pan. I am someone that believes in spraying almost every pan I put into the oven because it cleans up a lot easier and pieces come out easier. You don't want any of that sticking, so spray it up really well. Start with just a very thin layer of some sauce because this is gonna help it not stick and come out of that bottom really easily. Layer on some of these no-cook lasagna noodles. They're a little bit thinner, they look different than normal noodles, but believe me, they're gonna bake up beautifully and no one will know the difference. I like to overlap them to make sure they are really full on the bottom of the pan. I don't like any edges to be exposed. So I also break some up and then put them on the side too. Whatever works for your pan, because each can be slightly different, just break them up and make them fit. Add on half of your ricotta mixture. I like to do it in small clumps all over, that way it's gonna be easier to spread out because it can be kind of hard to move the noodles around. Then add on half of your sausage kale sauce mixture. Smooth out to an even layer, and then some more Parmesan cheese. I mean, seriously, the flavor from Parmesan is amazing. It's like that salty, funky taste that is just delicious with squash and kale. Guys, seriously, I'm so excited. After that cheese, you can just put on another layer of noodles. Same thing, overlap them. Make sure the sides have some broken pieces so it's all full. And if you're really picky like I am, I like to go on the opposite side. So if I know I put the pieces on one side when I was starting, I like to put them on the other side. That way you get that even layers of full noodles and partial noodles. Yeah, I'm that picky. Next, finish up with the rest of your ricotta mixture. Spread that on evenly. The rest of your sausage and kale sauce mixture, spread that evenly. And then of course, we have to finish with a good layer of cheese. No, it doesn't melt as much as other cheeses do, but it gives that delicious brown color and the most amazing nutty flavor. Once it's all ready, you can just pop it right into your oven. When it's at room temperature like this, it's gonna bake fairly quickly for lasagna. But if you want, you could cover it tightly, put it in the fridge, and let it sit up to a day, but let it come down to room temperature before you bake it again because this is a dense mixture and it's gonna take a while to bake. When it is bubbly throughout, especially in the middle, and all that cheese is browned, pull it from the oven, and at this point you wanna let it cool at least 15 to 20 minutes because if you try to cut it, one, it's gonna be too liquidy still, and it's just gonna go everywhere, and it's gonna be way too hot and you're gonna burn everything. I've done it because I don't have a lot of patience, so believe me, let it sit. It's gonna congeal somewhat and set up a lot better, and then you're gonna be able to pull those pieces out perfectly. When it's cooled slightly, cut it up, slice it up, serve it. It is gonna be a fall treat that I know you're gonna love. Your family is gonna love all these flavors that come together, from that squash sauce to the kale and sausage with that slight hint of spice in it. Guys, seriously, this is one of my favorite ways to enjoy the flavors of fall, and who doesn't love a comfort food lasagna? I can't wait for you to try this, and if you agree, make sure to like, share, subscribe. For the recipe, go to the description box. And until next time, make sure to enjoy some of those perfect fall flavors.